And thank you guys for listening. The Professional Engineers of Ontario was established in 1922 and is a licensing and regulated body for all engineers in Ontario. It is present to protect the public by ensuring that all professional engineers have met the rigorous qualifications to practice. And as well, people and companies may only provide engineering services when they have a professional engineering license. So what is PEO Student Membership Program? So if you're in the PEO Student Membership Program, you can connect with other professional engineers through monthly activities as well as through your Engineering Dimensions magazine. So you could read your Engineering Dimensions magazine as a student membership program, and you can sign up for it through your website. And you also have credits, not that much. And then after you go up to the end, right after you graduate, you can apply for an engineering internship program that will help you to, I believe it's 12 months before you can get your professional engineers, and it's something to prepare for. That's the engineering program. So, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to ask all the panelists to introduce themselves. We can start from there.
Hi everybody, my name is Erica Lee Garcia. I graduated with materials and metallurgical engineering about a decade and a half ago from Queen's University. I worked for a little while in manufacturing. My very first job was troubleshooting on the shop floor in very dirty, very loud manufacturing environments, which meant that anything after that was a big bonus, a big step up. I ended up working on several continuous improvement projects, eventually getting my Six Sigma black belt, which means I was doing lots of problem solving in the industrial environment. Moved over to mining after that, and was fortunate enough to work internationally, which was really, really exciting. I ended up leaving that job for various reasons, but now I'm self-employed. I consult to companies. I also mentor young engineering students and recently graduated engineers. So I like being an entrepreneur. It's fun. I get to do whatever I want most of the time. And I'm happy to do it. Yes, I run a venture with engineering.
Hello everyone, my name is Salesh. I get my license in 2009. I investigated, I know how to start, and thereafter I applied for my license. And because of international experience and having outside Canada degree, it was regulated and I'm giving exams like exams to write to match my academic requirements. Thereafter, I joined University of Purdue and I did my master's in 2008. And thereafter, I started working with consultancy firm, and now I'm working with City of Fisher. And I'm a resident engineer there, and I work to speak more on big implementation and big construction projects and good construction projects as well.
Hello everybody, my name is Mohit. I finished engineering in 1996 in Iraq, and after that I worked as a junior engineer for 7 years in administrative transportation. When I moved to Germany, working in Germany for about 5 years in mostly construction and renovation. I speak German, but I don't speak English. So that's a long time ago. And then I moved to Canada in 2003, working in London, Ontario, with some engineering consulting company mostly. We are doing site development projects and municipal projects, road reconstruction, all that site development for commercial institutional. And in 2008, I moved to the Waterloo area. Currently, I'm working as a project manager in water trading, which is called water programming. We did a couple of projects here for the university. And now I'm managing projects for site development for institutions such as the university and some commercial institutions. I got my license in 2000. So.
I might be the oldest one, but I've been here I've been working for a couple of decades. I'm Cairo. I graduated from the University of Waterloo in 1994 in civil engineering. My passion for my entire working career, even in high school, was in water supply. And I've been lucky enough, fortunate enough to study water at the University of Waterloo. She's grad school overseas in Japan, water resources. And I got to work all around the world, in South Asia, Southeast Asia, Middle East, Eastern Europe, the Caribbean, all through with water. I've been very fortunate to do that. And my wife threatened to leave me if I didn't stop country hopping, so she wanted me to find a job where it's stable. So we're very to look then, where you started from. So I looked for a job, and I worked down downtown Kitchener looking for the regional water route, and I look after the water that we drink by the taps, and also the snap afterwards. So all to do with water. That's what I've been doing, and I'll continue that for the rest of my life.
Thank you guys so much, and it's so great to hear all your backgrounds so that you can really understand how network engineering really is. So how this is going to work is I'm going to ask a set of Q&A questions, and if you in the audience have a question, just put your hand up, and once the answer is all, we'll let you ask. Okay. So the first question is, what were your goals in undergrad, and how have they changed since then? Let me start the same way.
I think my goal as an undergrad was to survive. I struggled honestly between this idea that I had about wanting to change the world, make an impact in the world, make big, important things happen, and all this theoretical stuff that I was learning. And I think in the end, I enjoyed my education. It was a good experience. It was definitely a challenge for me to get through. I definitely would prefer to do any number of other things, social and extracurricular stuff. But I knew I wanted to make a tangible impact in the world. That was very definite. I didn't want to do something theoretical, and I knew I wanted to work with people. So I was really lucky that the job that I ended up getting, working in a factory, working with teams of people, bringing together everyone to get a consensus on what the best way to solve a problem was going to be, turned out to be a really good fit for me because I was looking at all the different pieces of the business. I was able to look at, well, how are our suppliers connected to this problem? How is our quality department finding this problem? How is our engineering department complicit in this because the design was wrong to begin with? There were all these different pieces looking at the financial implications of the problems we were solving. So I guess they maybe didn't change so much, just sort of took form in the work that I was able to do.
My case actually that I was interested in building drones like like small babies, like driving cars on road, and my dad was when he was driving, I said, why you were not driving that fast? How can you drive fast? So I also played like I was like fond of those car games. So thereafter I decided to get the degrees of engineering, and thereafter I also got an opportunity to work with the Ministry of Transportation in India, and I worked on a large digital project, and I'm happy with what I'm doing, and that was my career goal to be a civil engineer, building those big structures, having big roads that can have more speed. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm it's the same thing that I'm doing for my whole life.
Me, since I remember when I was I was going to be in the future, so I wanted to get into music. So that was my goal, from really early stages. And then when I got to the university, I was really excited and focused on studying. Mostly, I was interested in hydraulics and dams, and this is ended up being my career mostly. Right now, I'm working on stormwater management, and how for at least subdivision is looking to see that there's no flooding, so there's no flooding. So that's really I like about what I like about this field, and continue doing that until I retire.
I think that for me, it's sort of where to survive, but I guess on a different track, because I went to EW, and I talked about a few of you, and one just came off work term, which is the best work term. I remember my first work term, I wanted to do water, and what they had me doing was testing rainwater on windows. So they have actual glass pane windows and all of these tests, and I thought, wow, is this water resource? Is this all that water is going to be? It was pretty impressive. my work report was probably my news right now. It's I think my message in saying this is that your first work term may be something that's kind of not so interesting and stuff like that, but by third my third work, and I was able to, and I thank God for this, but nail a job in Japan. I was working for a water treatment plant in their lab for removing certain chemicals and things like that. So it goes both ways. If you persevere through the program, you can water program. Co-op does offer a lot in terms of possibilities for you. You know, if you're in one day and you didn't like work so much, I encourage you to just stick with it. We have a few of the older students come to our meetings, and some of the work experiences I've been hearing from from recent students has been quite amazing to listen to. So if you're down on the one you work in, or you need a two-way work in whatever, the opportunities will present themselves. There's good hope to hear work of employers that come to the university. So I just ask you to just continue and create the opportunities for it.
Okay. And while you were taking your undergrad, did you change, like, when you were doing your undergrad, did you switch out, or did you take a minor or an option?
Didn't switch. I didn't really have any idea what I wanted to do, and I went to Queens, so we had a common first year, and then we had to opt into a certain program after that. And it was really just a process of elimination. Like, I thought, mechanical, that's just all about cars, and electrical, that's gonna be kind of boring. I really didn't know what else to do, so it was almost a process of elimination for me. And it turned out to be okay. It was a pretty theoretical program that took materials engineering with a metallurgical option, but I think in the end it turned out to be a good fit for me because there was a little bit of everything. Some solids courses, some mechanics courses, some physics courses, it was sort of a nice mix. And a minor, I didn't do one, but I think I would definitely recommend it in hindsight. I just didn't have the option at the time. But doing in management or in society or in finance, sort of a hybrid would have been a really good option for me. I think in the end, my Six Sigma Black Belt sort of functioned as like a dual kind of MBA engineering, sort of on the job training. So that was what I ended up doing.
I did additionally like civil engineering, and thereafter after second year we get choice for eventually, and I tried like aviation, like water water management, and then I thought, oh no, that's not my interest. And then after I choose transportation, and I did my specialization in risk management and structures. So I haven't changed my career, like I haven't changed completely, but just within civil engineering, I choose especially developing infrastructures.
For me, but we have which we get into a sort of engineering again, hardware and so I was accepting civil engineering, and basically we study various from management, irrigation, traffic, and structural, but mostly after the second year, then we focus on whatever you like to take the management side. Maybe we have to use for management purposes.
For me, you know what I'm all about, like water. So we did all the water courses, start from hydraulics in second, then on to all. I took the water resources options, so that's where I was. But when you do, I was in civil engineering. When you do civil engineering, maybe you can not do civil, but like into the analogy. But I don't want to do transportation. I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do transportation, but I had to do it anyway. So I didn't want to do my structures and geotech. I wanted to do water stuff, environment stuff. But sometimes they force you to look at other courses, and sure enough, when I got into the working world, here I am trying to design water treatment plants, and lo and behold, you need to design an access roads, right? So at least I had some background of how to design simple roads. I go, okay, so it isn't so bad. To build a treatment plant, you need a structure, and so it's good that we're forced to take structures and stuff. And what I'm trying to say here is that even though you try to specialize in one thing, and that's what I always thought would be specialize in one thing, you just never know what tools going to be when you go into the working world. And so make your decision, kind of carefully. That you may not just, might serve you well to try different fields and stuff like that. I'm not encouraging you to change. I didn't change. And I know a lot of people in my grades didn't change, but the ones that they were happy because they knew they were so convinced that they wanted to change and they did that, and I think that they went on to happy careers. But you probably chose your field for a certain profession for a certain reason, and there's probably something in there for you that's probably interesting. Engineering is a wide field, and just because you're in that doesn't mean that everybody's in that forever, right? You're first time, you're in the engineering process, so there's always opportunities even after you graduate and work in the world.
How much of the skill, how much of the skills did you learn in your education did you use in your previous job or the one you have right now?
Me again?
You can say the other side. Anytime this next me. Yeah.
I found that my third and fourth year courses, I used a lot, only because they're more practical and that's where it gets more interesting. So for the first and second year, students, it might be a bit of a slog to learn algebra and physics. I feel chemistry and very fast physics, that sort of thing. And I had to do the extra courses in one thing. So it was really bad. It was pretty. I think you know how they rank you here, right? Like 124 people in my class. I know the 53rd person didn't make it, and I was 57th when they ranked me there, so something like that, or vice versa. So it was very close. And I don't find those very, like, unless you're really into the theoretical stuff, those first year classes and some of the second year classes aren't very fun. But the second, the third, or fourth year classes, I think, start to become interesting, and you can start seeing yourself apply these certain principles. And they might not be the very details, but you start to apply things to things that you use in the real world. So I would say some of the stuff in third year is more relevant than say the first and second year.
Yeah. In my case, it was actually similar. Those said, like the first and second year. Like I said, calculus, all that kind of stuff, mechanical, engineering, whatever. But in the third and fourth year, mostly these are the information I learned actually. Third and fourth year was very beneficial in my first job when I worked in IT. I said I wish when I go back there and I spend more, time and just pay closer attention to those what I'm studying was very helpful in my in the daily work after that.
In my opinion, like engineering, we learn everything like math, physical calculus in the beginning first 2 years, but that doesn't help directly in your field, but other ways it's always help because you need to have those general understanding of principles, and that always help for any job. In my case, actually, when I done my first and second year, even period, I learned like radiation, water, wastewater management, and all those courses. So sometimes when I was in like specialization in transportation, but it's hard to find job immediately after graduating. So I started with the irrigation department. I worked on a dam site for at least a year, and thereafter I tried looking for a job in transportation. And then I switched to Ministry of Transportation. So the courses which you took that always help. And especially instead of having just one specialization, if you have like standby courses, sometimes you also get chance to just start the job. So to me, like everything we have in engineering, because the courses design is subject that it helps.
Yeah, I agree with what Sheila's just saying, that sometimes there's just there's not a literal usage, but there's like a general frame of mind. Like it sounds a little bit like a cliche, but it kind of teaches you how to think about a problem. I mean, you have to know how to absorb tons of information and apply it, and you're going at breakneck speed. The real world's not like that. Luckily, once you graduate, you're in your job. You might know this from co-op. You do have more time to kind of absorb and make sure that you're understanding everything properly. And I think for me, I'm going to assume that this question is directed at people who don't necessarily think that they're going to use their engineering degree in their working life. For me, the best example was statistics, and I just could not bear it while I was learning it. Just so it's so esoteric, it's so complicated, it has no purpose. Then once I got into the working world and I was doing my Six Sigma black belt, as some of you might know, that's highly statistical. It's using all your statistical tools to test a theory about where the root cause of a problem is coming from. All of a sudden, statistics was now my best friend. It was this tool that I had in my belt. And I was like, this is awesome, I love statistics. So it was really neat to see for me, like the why of the working world really helped me gain more respect and more enjoyment from things that I've learned. So hang in there if you're not feeling like this is relevant right now. It'll come around.
How important is it to network as an engineer, and how do you set up a good network? Can you start from this side? Yeah.
First of all, networking is vastly important. Ever heard this saying just before we started here, but it's all about working as a team. Almost no engineers that I know of do projects on their own. There might be some individual tasks that people are in, but you're on a team where you're being relied upon to do the project. And so networking, understanding like who your peers are, who your rivals are too, those types of things. Kind of great. I knew that because at least 5 times a day you have to write and stuff. But yeah, so there's a team aspect and making sure that you're working with your peers and so your rivals are that sort of thing. But also in developing again after graduating, obviously for employment, those types of things. It doesn't help to it does help. Even with people, you can take some of the contacts, maybe through the co-op job, you meet other companies that work with other companies on effort. And so keep your eyes open, I would say, on those types of things. You never know where opportunity lies. And
yeah, I second that. And networking is very important. Especially like the first second in the co-op, you can develop this network when you know the people and then so the project you know can contact some maybe other consulting or other company to finish the job. So this will help you to get other people to know this will co-op. So because sometimes, like, for example, in our office, we have co-ops and actually right now we have 4 co-ops that are started as a co-op now. They are full time for almost 5 years. So and then when you start co-op, then you sometimes go to the field, the contractor, another company for in our case, like the technical. So this is how we start developing your network, and when you come back again or when you have most people who actually know you. It's very important to start education. Of course, when you start working for them, you can study from the
It's very important for having like professional contacts whenever you ready to co-op that you can have like not only with your supervisor, but if you can attend some like a company event and you can have an opportunity to contact different departments, different people, so that making that contact will help to land you other job or having some more information you can get from the company, what other opportunities are there in company. So networking especially like sometimes if you go like this type of event you get to know that okay what's happening outside. And if you go for some seminars or some workshop, so for that also help you to that help you to build your career. So I really recommend to create those networks so that you can have that established network can help you to not only job but not only your professional development as well.
Who here has a LinkedIn profile? Yay, good job. Realize they're so much easier now because LinkedIn is around. It's a really good source of information. I don't know if you've ever helped around in all the different groups you can join. You can go on, you can answer questions, ask questions. Great networking. So especially if you're introverted and you're shy to come up to someone at an event, I would say one big tip I would give for networking is if it's painful and you know you need it, don't do it. Like find a way to do it in a way that works for you. And that could be going up to someone that you're like, oh my goodness, I just have to ask you this question about this project. So your enthusiasm will override your reluctance or your resistance to asking that question. If you don't want to ask someone directly, get their business card, follow up with them. If you have no idea how many business cards I give out to students, say, contact me anytime, I'll be happy to answer any questions. I don't hear back from them. That is like the worst thing. Wasted business cards. So follow up. Don't be surprised if people don't get back to you right away. Doesn't mean they don't want to hear from you. Everybody, I would count the 4 of us at least, and probably any other engineer that you'll need, would love to help you answer some questions. Might not be a direct line to a job, but if you keep those lines of communication open, you can find the right thing for you. And I think that it's sometimes really easy to think of yourself as, I know I felt this when I was looking for my first job, it's like, I'm kind of this extraneous thing, like it's up to me to look for a job, like I have to find little holes to fit myself into, and I really hope that I'm good enough kind of thing. Whereas the opposite is true, like you're very valuable, and you should know that the opportunity to hire you and to bring you on board to a company is very valuable. And so think of yourself as an asset, and think about the value that you can deliver to them, and see if you can frame your questions and your sort of the way that you talk about yourself in terms of what you contribute, not in terms of what you want to get, because that'll make you even more valuable.
What soft skills would you say are most important in the engineering workplace?
Yes. I actually think soft skills is kind of a terrible expression. I know why we use it. I know what we're talking about. But I think it is a way of kind of diminishing those skills and saying they're not as important. And I wouldn't go ahead and say that they're more important than your technical skills, but honestly, your degree, your analytical smarts, that will get you in the door. That will get you looked at. That will get your resume in the file. That will get you the interview. But what your ability to communicate, to be a human being that people want to be around, your ability to break down, say, communication barriers between one department and another, your ability to kind of step back and see the big picture, all of these things make you, they're the thing that's going to get you the job, and they're going to make you successful in the job. So I would say just a couple of those. I mean, it sounds pretty basic, but communication, being willing to listen to other people's perspective, even if you're thinking the whole time they're wrong, I know better. Being open to them and being willing to be influenced by people and use your own powers of influence and skill, I guess, consensus building, rather than just saying, this is the answer, end of story, but being able to work with people so that they feel good about working with you. I would say those are two of the more important things. So like, your engineering skills are bones, but there's skin and tendons and all of these other muscles that hold it together. That's the soft skills. If you want to think of it that way, what do you have? You just have bones, right? The skeleton. If the rest of it is to come alive. That's what you're a human being, and you can't forget that even when you're looking.
The same thing like soft skill is also important, but it is like your technical degree, what you get from here, that takes you to the interview. But as Erika mentioned, like communication skill is more important, and that's what I find for getting the first job. It's difficult to get in, but once you build the communication, you get open days, then that helps the job. So communication, to me, communication is the first thing everyone has to like keep continuing.
I have not much to add to that. Basically, soft skills is very important. As to me, I think the important is to have the real technical stuff, but the soft skills also important. Like keeping the line of communication between you and your employer or their teammate or the other disciplines in that project that you're working on. It's very important that you're willing to help or accept anything from somebody else's website or whatever. So just to ensure that your project gets running at the end and it's fully successful, fully successful. To everybody.
Let's make it corner though, it's communication. Quite honestly, without a doubt, I mean, I was thinking leadership and management, but I wrote down again. It's about communicating, and if you're in a different country, you can learn that language and whatever. But if you're working here in Canada, or at least in Ontario, you want to be able to learn how to speak. You want to be able to convey complex information. That's why you're thinking to do that. Also, and you're going to be doing now 10 years when you're out in the real world. You're going to be talking out with Joe Public, right? You're going to be talking to coast guards, or you're going to be talking to doctors or whatever, but they're not going to be able to speak the same language that you've been cultivating here for 5 years, 5 years, or how long. And as engineers, we go out into society, and we try to make society better, right? But if you're going to give them all the jargon and stuff that we learned here, right, without explaining it very concisely and well, they're just going to be more confused. And oftentimes engineers, we're doing something for the better. So you want people to understand why you're trying to do these things, right? And if you can communicate well, whether it be the written word or the spoken word, those are the types of things, because you guys will be leaders. You guys are going to come up with new technologies or a new way of doing things. You got to be able to say that to people and tell the general public why you do this way. That's what, and I guess leadership does come into it a little bit, but it all comes back down to how well you communicate. So the next time you're doing a group project, you should volunteer to be the one that presents, or you should be the one that chairs the meeting, and try your communication skills out with your peers, your classmates, and things like that. It's good practice. I used to be a type though, introvert, typical introvert, and I would never put my hand up, and I'd be the last to go to anything. But I kind of realized, looking very quickly, that doesn't get me anywhere. You can get by university in 4 years and kind of be introverted, but it doesn't get you too far out into the real world. You have all this technical knowledge that you have in here, so you got to find somebody at the end of it's the communication. So practice it now. It doesn't hurt. You just get a little bit of ego bump if you crash and burn, but you won't, because you've done the work, you've studied, you've gone through the theorems or whatever, and now it's a matter of you explaining to your peers. And I think that's a very valuable, complementary tool to your engineering degree.
Can I just add one quick thing to that? I was speaking to an engineering manager, and I was saying, what are things that you think young engineers, like the engineers that you hire, what do they need to be better at? And he said time management. I thought that was really interesting. I don't know if you're supposed to learn that in school, but apparently it's a pretty classic failure mode that they jump into a task at a really, really inappropriately high level of detail, and then they sort of burn themselves out on the first quarter of the task, and then have to finish the last 3 quarters in a big curve. So there's a good example of a soft skill that really, if you don't master that, it doesn't matter how smart you are. Same thing as communication, as Bruce was saying, the presentation skills. You can also Google change management. That's a thing. Believe it or not, it's a whole body of knowledge around how to get people to agree with you. And if the world were a logical place, you just hold up your hand and say this is the right answer, and everyone will go, of course this is the right answer, let's do that. It doesn't work that way, right? There's a lot of convincing and I encourage you to check that out as another compliment.
From your experience, how beneficial is to have research experience or an master's or PhD?
I go first on that one. I was so excited to get out of school. I just did my bachelor's. I was not up for any more school. For various reasons, the academic environment was not a good fit for me. But I did continue to learn a lot. I acquired my 16 black belts, as I said. I did courses in project management, workplace health and safety. I kept learning, but just outside of the research or academic environment. So I would encourage you to continue to learn, but not necessarily in a research environment. That's not what you want to do. Don't do it just because you feel like you should.
You mentioned research is if you are more focused towards specific things, specific subject, and that helps. And again, it doesn't mean that your specialization or something that is acceptable to the industry. So it's very hard to make the decision, but that depends on if you are academically strong and if you want to do specific thing in more depth, then that helps. But with the real world, it's hard to say is it help or how that can be a good job, or To me, it's like we did a decision on what I want to go.
Well, usually my side, it's I think like, so if you want to continue to your study and develop further and do like hands-on projects, which is like this, that's going to be very helpful experience. But if not, even if you're going to work in actually graduate engineering, it's still like really with the actual work you're doing, you learn a lot of practical stuff, which is going to develop your even further more creative thinking. If you can do that's great. And you have to,
Yeah. And Eric said, you have a passion for it, then those types of advanced, looking really into the details of a certain problem, an engineering problem, it might be, if it's appealing to you, if it resonates with you, I would encourage that, because you're probably the one that should be doing it. Out of all the students, you probably want to have that passion for it. But just remember, engineering is a vast field. You're saying, you collaborate with other engineers and with other scientists, other types of people. There's many different skills and many different problems out there. So if you do one, and then go into the real world, it may not be, and I know a lot of people that have done master's and PhDs that aren't exactly in the same field as what they do their graduate degree in. And so you might say, they don't really, they didn't really benefit, it was a waste of time. I would disagree with that. There's also the argument made that you do go in depth on a certain problem and you learn what they're thinking there. It's a different way of thinking than just normal problem solving. It's probably more involved. So, but at the end of the day, and then something might be in for the fourth year and you're thinking about it, like, you should look in there and ask yourself if that passion is really giving you to pursue that sort of stuff. You're going 2 years of potential salary, but you're not going to go. So you got to weigh those types of things and see if that really works with you. It's a personal choice. I do think I'm here to tell you one way or another. It's your own decision to make, but have a good look at what really drives you, and if you think it's something that that's of interest to you, by all means, 2 years out of a 8-year life is a problem as well. Wishy-washy answer.
Right. What do you think it takes to be an engineer? But it's kind of a big question.
Although, I think there's two things: a general curiosity on problem solving, and the reason why you're doing problem solving, again, is the fact that you want to make the world better. Right? Think about the other professions. The typical ones, the professional ones, are doctors, right? Lawyers, accountants. Those are, and then engineers. Those are the big four. There's other ones as well. Those ones, they make people better, but they're one-on-one most of it. So if you're in a court case, you go to a lawyer. If you have an injury, you go to a doctor. Right? If you need your taxes done and your financial advice, you go to the accountant. But engineering is a little bit different in the fact that you're sometimes it could be one-to-one, but oftentimes they're actually affecting a whole group of people. It might be a whole university, or it could be a whole community, or a whole city. I affect people drinking water, right? That sort of thing. So you have to have a curiosity, but then also a genuine interest in making the world better. I think that's something that will make you a better engineer, keep you that.
Engineering, I think it's going to be like there's like if you want to contribute to the community and to the area you're living in, I think like for example, myself as an example, when I was in a project, one of the projects we were working with magnetic park, which is a park and purpose it's the landfill, landfill side. And so now it's part for it when I take the kids, to play my son and my brother play there. So I'm very proud and they are very happy. So that's the stuff really can make you really, if you want to, if you need and become something that can last there for a long time and another generation can see that. So I think this is to make you.
Continuing my colleagues' like application of an engineer, like I've heard in the discussion like there are different professions like doctors, lawyers, engineers, accountants. So those doctors only get the practice when people get sick or there is an accident. They earn when that happens. Lawyers, they get their practice done. People have more issues, more accidents, more cases. Then they get their practice money or the outcome. But when you have engineering, like engineers build, like I build a bridge, so that helps people, society, and same thing with like engineering, like mechanical, if you give someone with a plant or machinery that gives employment to the people. So engineering profession is not based on someone else, like compared to lawyer or a doctor. So it's a like personal profession.
Yeah, I would say two things. I would say diligence and vision. Diligence because there are a lot of different problems that are going to come up. I mean, fundamentally, you're trying to take a concept or a problem or an idea for a solution and translate it into reality. And it's not always clear what the right answer is. Sometimes it's very bumpy and you have problems and you have setbacks and you have to go back to budget pressures and you have to fend off, different people yelling at you for different things. So you really have to keep your eye on the prize of what you're trying to do. And I love what Guru was saying about how we have the ability to contribute to all of society, potentially all at once. My very first job, I participated in designing a process that created a little gerotor that went inside the oil pump that went inside the 2001 cruiser. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's my little piece of the world. That's my little contribution, right? So I did my job properly, so all of those water pumps could run, so all of those cars could continue to drive on the road without breaking down and overheating. I think that's pretty good, right? So you need, I think maybe that gets to the point about vision, is you need to understand that even though maybe you're doing a set of tasks day to day that you don't feel is super inspiring, I mean, hopefully you enjoy it, you like the problem solving, you like working with people, you like the challenge of the puzzles that you're solving day to day and the challenges that you're taking on, but that you see the bigger picture and that you're inspired by it. I think that at the end of the day, that's what's going to keep you going, because you're gonna feel good about what you're doing. If you don't feel good, you can always change. You can work for a different company, you can work in a different industry, you can try out something else, because having an engineering skill set is a very good base to try other things.
I think it's good, right? You guys just asked me how many drink and kind of work with the panelists. So I will tell you guys what we're going to start again. Okay, you can grab yourself.
It might not change, but it might. Yeah. I mean, unless you're talking about that would be cool. So they were just trying to get 3%. So that, right? You learn math words, you learn certain vocabulary. Really excited for that. I don't know why you said words they were trying to learn. And I'm sure I wasn't correct. It's terrible. It's better than nothing. So I used a lot of we had to. And you know, it was very and so, yeah, I was there for a year, and then I came back and I was very cool.
limited to things too, and people around us have yes. I liked it, but it wasn't directly related to doing business activities. So a lot of questions and So we're just going to start with a few more questions, and then we'll open the floor to a lot of questions. A bit more stay this far, and then have some more questions.
would you define success in the workplace, and how would you define it in your personal life?
How would I personally
Yes.
define it? I think part of the definition for each person has got to be that you define it and you define it. If you're not accepting someone else's definition of success, it's likely that to this point you've had a lot of other influences in your life. Maybe your parents or grandparents or extended family have their idea of what you should do to be successful. Maybe there's a societal idea. I have to drive this kind of car, I have to make this much per year, whatever that is. I would say there's nothing wrong with having those goals, but really check them with yourself. Is this really what matters to me? And it's okay for it to change as well. So for me, I think I had a big opportunity to reevaluate my own definition of success after I did my abroad work experience. I saw poverty in South America like I had never seen before, and I really realized that I didn't just want to live a life that served me well and that made me a good living. I wanted to do something that would help solve some of the bigger problems in the world, like poverty, because there's enough to go around. It's just not distributed properly. That sucks, and that's a different topic altogether. But I knew I wanted to make a contribution. So for me, my personal definition of success these days is making a contribution to the big problems in the world that at the end of the day, at the end of my lifetime, hopefully, I can say, hey, I made a difference in some way. That wasn't just about serving myself or following someone else's path for me, but I did it. I did it my way. So I would say reevaluating your own definition and don't let anyone else define it for you.
It depends on individual, like success level is own understanding of what you are doing or what your passion is. So to me, like success is like satisfaction. You get what you are doing, and same with your family, how much time you spend, or how you can balance with your work. So those are the different level. I mean, each one has like a different level of success. For me, like I'm doing what I'm doing, so
It's very short information. Love what you do. You love what you do, you will be successful. I think that's this is the
I think you're getting just to that. Each person is different. I mean, if it's financial, like making a lot of money, that drives you, then fine, that's great. If it's completing something like completing projects or solving problems, maybe some people define that as there's many different ways of gauging success. Maybe there's more than one for you. Making yourself happy that you chose the right career, you're in the right field, and you're doing things like that. But most people out there, and I've seen most of you as well, would probably say that if you're happy with what you're doing and it's very interesting to you. I'll use that word passionately, but if you're really enthralled with the stuff that you do, again, those ain't one week, still that don't see the light yet. Just wait a couple of years, where it does get more interesting, but then you start to get traction because you start to know more than to a person, to a public person, and that's how you start to make a difference in the real world. I think a lot of engineers that I work around enjoy that sort of thing. They enjoy being able to contribute to society in some way. But then it's all up to you.
Earlier you spoke about the importance of time management. How would you say you balance your work and life, and do you have any hobbies?
Like I mentioned earlier, I'm an entrepreneur, and work-life balance is really tricky when you're the boss because you have everything else. You're responsible for every aspect of the business, and it only compromises you. It only affects you if things go down. When you're an employee, you can kind of drop the ball, and chances are someone else will pick it up for you. You might get in trouble, but chances are nothing will catastrophically go wrong. It's not that way when you're an entrepreneur. I actually have a couple of employees working for me now, so I have the added pressure of providing jobs for them. So I think that to answer your question, how well do I balance? I would say I probably don't. I work a lot, to be honest, but I do love what I do. So in that sense, I think that the balance thing comes about a different way, because I would probably do what I am doing now, even if I didn't need the money. If I had the hypothetical $10 million in the bank and didn't need to work for the rest of my life, I would probably do what I'm doing now. So my hobbies right now are all on hold. I sing barbershop harmony, acapella harmony with the women's chorus here in Kitchener. I love to dance, so salsa dancing. I was a member of Rotary, but I had to put that on hold because right now my husband and I are expecting our first child, so that's a big project that's going to take a long time. And will be a test of my, it's another project, yeah. It'll be a test of my time management skills for sure. But I think, and honestly, a good test to see how much I can let go and delegate to my team. And be willing to let them take care of my other baby, which is my business.
Work in life is like both side of coin. Like you have to manage both things at the same time. Being workaholic is not a bad thing, but again, you have again you have to think of family. Everything has to think of family, and the definition is changing as you grow. Like suppose you're in the beginning when you get your first job, oh, no, I need a car, then I need this, I need that, and when your age increases or when you move to a different level of in your life, that becomes sometimes difficult, sometimes it becomes easier to get balance. So the thing is like whenever you work or whatever you do, just enjoy and simply with the family.
How to balance, like you said, is time management. It's very important. And basically, when my work is off, I'm work and then finish my work on time, and I'm trying to balance that between this and my family. I still like this money to the family. For example, my hobbies is actually soccer, which is I play soccer, and coaching my son's soccer team. Just I balance between the work I'm doing and coaching twice a week and playing. So I think you can do that if you wanna manage your time properly. You do actually both your work and your other stuff.
Because you're all engineers, I'm assuming there's all curious of the world, and solving problems is part of engineering. And one thing that I see a lot of young engineers do is that they get really involved, and you should get involved with problem solving. It takes time, right? It takes time to look at various different angles of the problem and come up with a solution that you think is suitable, acceptable, or even great. And some engineers take it to a very high level, and they end up taking up a lot of your time. I think that's where your priorities come as well. And for my culture, sending your family is a bit of a priority, and then you have to start making trade-offs as to what's really important to you. If you're young, single, or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, and you're just into the moment of engineering, you can get there, right? You can be doing things for a long time, and you can get a good solution. As you go along, your priorities might change, and maybe you back off because you have other things that become more like having family or something like that, right? So your life will probably change as you go along, and your priorities now are probably different than they'll be 10, 15 now, and maybe 10 years from now. But certainly, when we're in the moment right now, work hard at it. Move forward with it, especially in engineering. If you compare yourself to those and other programs, I mean, you do have an opportunity, like I say, to change the world or affect the world in a positive way, and that's not easy to do. It takes time, and being young is a great time to be looking at those problems, and maybe you go all the way and you become successful in some way. But I think that now's the time where you invest in that time towards engineering stuff. And other things will come as you go on.
Alright. Now we have kind of changed pace, and we're talking more about the technical parts of industrial engineers. The first thing I want to talk about is the student membership program, and kind of just want to know what it is and its benefits.
You go about.
You don't all have to sponsor this one. So it's SMP, or student membership program, is basically geared towards engineering students like yourselves, where they go into real working world. And it's PEO's way of introducing students to what Engsoc Engineers of Ontario does. And so they say you can sign up for free. Joanna says that you get to see the monthly magazine or bi-monthly magazine, but you don't have to sign up. You can actually see it now online too. So that's not the real thing. The online discussion that you get, it's not that active. It's not the greatest. So that's part of the incentive we provide. It's just for you to expose yourself to organization, professional areas of Ontario. And the PEO is the licensing body. So there's a Professional Engineers Act that's that promulgated in Queen's Park a long time ago that allows us to self-regulate the professional, right? So we don't report to a minister or a bureaucrat or somebody at Queen's Park. Engineers, when we practice engineering, we govern ourselves, just like the doctors, they govern themselves, lawyers govern themselves as well. And so when we talk about the student membership program, they're just trying to lean you into this process of getting your license as an professional engineer so that you can practice engineering in Ontario. So it's just a baby step. There maybe there might not be much there for you to look at really. You might get odd email from them. It is free, I guess. So I'm supposed to say good things about them, but I myself have a right mind in college. The website is engineeringstudents.peo.org.ca. There's a pamphlet that I got there. No campus that you can look at. But there's no harm in joining, but there's also no harm in not joining as well at this point. There is a running total amongst Ontario universities. It's number of SMP members there are. So if you're into that sort of thing, look at UW exploring categories number 3. Alternate number 1 increasing the number of SMP members. So FDL will be 5 years. But otherwise, if you're interested in getting your license and that sort of thing, it's a good way to do one. By no means, if you don't look, it's no fun to do.
I can say one quick thing with that as well.
Is the engineering internship program the same thing, or that's the next question?
That's for after you graduate. Yeah. So this is for while you're studying, and I think that for me, I think I really didn't have a very good idea of what being an engineer was actually like. I knew it was like being an engineering student, and it consisted of doing a lot of problem sets and feeling generally being toxic. But getting out into the real world of working as an engineer, you get a sense of what it's like. You could go to the council meetings and read about what's going on. Read the Professional Engineering Act. It might sound kind of boring, but this is stuff that really shows who we are and what we do and why we do it. It's because we care about taking care of society, because we want to do things well. And it gives you a sense of sort of the family that you're going to join when you graduate. Whether you choose to be active and sort of claim that as like, yes, these are my people, this is what I want to belong to, or whether you go, yeah, I did engineering, not for me. It's up to you, but it's an option that will help you figure that out.
All right, and we're going to go to the PEO mentorship program now. I don't know if you want to talk about this.
I can talk with that. Is that okay? So when you graduate immediately, you become an EIT, an engineering intern. You need to register in that program, and if you do within 6 months of graduating, it's way cheaper. Is that correct, Prue, or is it free?
Yeah,
it's free. There you go. Okay, so a couple of my employees did not register within 6 months of graduating, and now they're looking at the bill and they're going, man, do I really want to pay that? It goes up a lot. So word wise, even if you're not sure 100% that you want it, you might as well sign up because then you're in. And it gives you an opportunity to understand a little bit about the PEO, how it works. Like I said, it's a community of engineers. There are 80,000 PEOs and a bunch more EITs across the province, and then every province has their own regulations And if you think that you want to get your PN, and some of you were asking me during the break, like, is it worth it? Does it get me anything? I would say in general, yes. It gives that sort of extra stamp of it's another credential that shows that you've proven yourself in the work world. You didn't just get the degree, which is definitely a great accomplishment in and of itself, that you've proven yourself. So the EIT is sort of the bridge to that. And the mentorship program, or the licensure assistance program, as we call it, is something that allows you to get your PN a little more easily and more quickly. So you have to work for 4 years, it's 48 months of supervised practice under a PN, and then you have to write the law and professional practice exam, so ethics and things. So if you study, you write the exam, you'll pass it. It's not too hard, but you put those things together. And a mentor is someone who's a PM who has their license. They'll meet with you. They talk through, your experience. If you want, they'll help you prepare your experience record, which is the application that you prepare to send to the PEO for them to evaluate your experience and say, yep, this is legit. You can have your PM. Some people just find that process kind of intimidating. And myself, I have mentored 2 EITs to get their PM. She's one was a foreign trained engineer, and the other one was a Canadian trained engineer. On both of them, just had some questions like, how does this fit? How does this work? And we were able to get them sorted out, and they both have it. So it's free, and it's through your chapter. So if you end up living and working in this area, you'll be contacting the vendor or the PEO chapter to get them with that.
So clarify, the mentorship is actually given to the EIT, so you don't get the EIT, you won't be in the mentorship. Why would you get your EIT is financial incentive. The $300 application fee gets waived if you apply to the EIT program in the first 6 months. And then I think it's not, you do have to pay the EIT dues every year, but $300 is fairly big. And then there's a thing you get to join the mentorship program, the system to gain licensure. There are ways to do it, but it also recognizes that up to others, like a business card, like you're an EIT, it shows that you have that commitment of license So, if you compare to the SME program, EIT is something you should probably typically look at when you see business. You keep in mind that if you want to practice engineering in Ontario on your own, you do need a license, eventual PNs, right? You will need a license. So whether you go to EIT, or try to go through the PN all on its own, it's up to you. You can see what the application process is. But EIT does try to help in the United States.
Right. And how does it call translating PN with PN?
So if you have engineering experience in co-op terms, some of it can contribute to your 48 months or 4 years of practical experience that you need, your experience with finance, when you apply for your PN license. The experience that counts is after your midway point of your academic year, so after any work terms after 2B, can count as long as it is engineering work. So it could be dumb jobs like window things and fall on, just not really engineering work. It helps if you have PNs working above you, or someone maybe 2 levels above, someone that can vouch for you. In that regards, PEO does have this format. I'm not sure right now, but it's called the Pre-Graduation Experience Record Guide. If you're in PA and want to work or any of your work beyond that, I recommend it's a PDF. You just get it off the PEO website and just read what it says in terms of what experience is and what it is. There's 5 main principles of engineering that you have. Well, you don't have to do it on your work term, but it just says when you worked and then what you did as a job, what type of engineering experience you received, and then your supervisor can sign off on it. If you have one of these, it's like gold when you work to actually submit your education requirements. It goes to what's called the Education Requirements Committee, which is a committee of PNs that look at each application as they come in, and they make sure there's at least 48 months worth of experience. If you have 4 verified or vouched by your boss as PN, right? It's easy for them to say there's 4 months, right? You need 48 months altogether, and I think you can get up to 12 12 months, and
I think it's a year.
a year counted for co-ops, so you get to be 12 work terms, that counts for the 4 year. It doesn't count to the 12 month, or one of those years in the 4 years has to be under at the end, that can't be lower. So you're gonna have to have 1 year in the working field after you graduate as well. But out of the 4 years, out of 3 years, one of those can be 1 year.
Alright, how does the PEO certification extend outside of Canada for people who want to go to national engineering?
We have Ontario here, so on board. I mean, I think all provinces in Canada have a reciprocity agreement with PEO, all under the umbrella of Insurance Canada. Now, Insurance Canada, does not have any legal jurisdiction over any of the provincial PEO type of organizations, right? These are provincial legislation, so under the PEO Act in Ontario, and similarly for all other provinces. But they recognize the PEO from Ontario and say for New Brunswick or Alberta. Sometimes you might have to pay a fee depending on the jurisdiction, but it should translate rather easily. Not so in the United States. They have a fee system, and they will not recognize the PH. You'll have to go through their regulating process there as well. I think it's the same with the mice in the UK. They won't recognize it. You're going to have to go through their hurdles to get recognized as well. I know in other countries they might recognize it, but one thing that once you get to beyond those countries, it's no longer a legal thing. It doesn't come from a provincial state like legislation. It's an organization that just right things to do. It's a good organization. You have a legal engineers or a society of engineers, whatever it is, but it's not provincially or mandated by law. And that's where it becomes a little bit fuzzy unless the equivalency. It's probably good to have it, but it doesn't have any law-bearing effect that it does here in Ontario. So it might be valuable, but it also may not have any legal meaning towards it.
All right. This is a question for each one of the panelists. When and where do you start getting your experience to fulfill your PEO requirements, and how does you prepare for that?
For me, it was right after I graduated. Like I said, I was so eager to get away from school, and I took a job, the first job that I could find pretty much. I went backpacking for 5 weeks in Europe, and then came straight home to start working. And I was lucky enough to work under PMs right away. All the work that I did qualified. We mentioned the 5 areas. It has to fall under at least one of those areas, application, tutoring, that kind of thing. And so my 4 years piled up pretty quickly, and I got my PhD in 2004. So that was relatively painless, I guess. How can you prepare for it? I don't know really. I think just focus on learning the principles that you're learning now. As much as you can. I think you're doing a great thing in coming to things like this to get an understanding of how engineering principles translate into the real working world. Anything you can do to make yourself more effective in the workplace is going to get you ahead, it's going to get you good opportunities. But really, you just need to get started. And I would say if you're trying to figure out your first job after graduation, don't worry about getting the perfect job. Just get started, try something. It's okay to hate your first job even, I would say, because that will just make every other job after it seem so much better. And if you get started, you'll always learn something, no matter what.
My case is different than Aida. Actually, I was an experience in overseas experience. So out of 4 years experience, I did credit for my previous 3 years credit from previous jobs. And I was 1 year in the office to engineering in Canada, and thereafter I get my PE license. And same thing with my academic requirement, I have a degree from outside Canada, and thereafter I done master's here, so that meets my academic requirement. So after moving to Canada, within my balance in 2 years, I got my PhD.
For me, again, I'm graduated from overseas, and I started working in and then later on I moved to Germany, was mostly doing construction, not like engineering. So when I moved here to Canada, I was having to work in I wanted to get my license when I moved here to Canada. So I was working in engineering, civil engineering with in London here for 4 years. Then, which is really to start, like even my previous overseas experience with contractors that was in 4 years employment for PEO, but still I wanted to, you know, see the system here and I never did the system before and working actually to get the license. So after 4 years I applied. So in my case it was, I have to, in PEO, I had two options. Either go to 4 technical exams, or confirmatory exams, so basically similar to what I studied in university, but for a long time ago, so I have to, while in your work and family. So, and then the other option is to go to an experience economy community, basically take your project and then there's a chance they waive your exam. So I was lucky, I went to the interview and they waived all my exams. They said you can have to any exam they knew I've been here for a while doing engineering. So all I had to do is a professional practice. Actually, so you guys consider it lucky. So I encourage you to get your license because you're gonna have to go through all those processes. Just increase your volume and
Yeah, it depends on what you go into right after you graduate. You need to get the engineering experience. It's got to be under those 5 principles of those field that define this engineering. You've got to start doing a little bit of each of the 5. Depending on how you are, I hope you don't, but some people go into the financial world or they go into retail sales or they go to something not related. You're not going to get your engineering experience. Then there are those like me that just left Canada for some time, and I did engineering overseas, but I didn't really think about it. And none of that experience, I go out to small engineering, it could be attested by a PEO member of PEO because PEOs overseas that I was working with. So when I got back to Canada, I didn't have any experience in their eyes, even though I thought I had a lot of engineering experience in a lot of design work in water. So I ended up starting from scratch. 4 years, I worked 4 years under a finish, and after 4 years I applied. So, but that's when the clock starts ticking when you make the effort to say you're going to start doing the things. So be conscious of when the clock starts ticking. You never know when you need it. You may never need it, or you may need it all the time. But if you're going to do the 4 years of academic rigor that you're going through right now, maybe be conscious of when the clock starts ticking for you in terms of experience and having the back pocket so that you're ready to file whenever it comes from.
Right, does anyone in the audience have any questions? Or any on the live stream? Yeah.
You mentioned that you work with Canada. Like, do you find it valuable to get experience working with different countries just to see how you get there and help you with that?
I'll speak as one that was most foreign. I think while I was doing my international experience, I worked for a year in the South American regional office. I was in Lima, Peru. And I was working for a Canadian company. So I said to my boss, please give me some intercultural training. I'm going to need it. And he said, nah, you'll be fine. That did not turn out to be the case. I'm sure I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I learned a lot about myself, to be honest, and things that I thought everyone understood about me, I ended up needing to explain much more, especially as a woman working with a lot of men. There were certain subtleties that I needed to learn how to navigate, which honestly was very frustrating at first, but in the end made me very much more patient and more self-aware person. As far as the experience of working in another culture in general, I would say it's the best thing I've ever done in my life. It opened my eyes immeasurably to just basically understanding myself and understanding Canada in a way that I didn't when I was living and working here. There are so many assumptions that we make, so many values that we hold without even thinking about it. And when you go outside of that context, everything goes up in the air and it's really kind of crazy, but it's great because it also gives you that clarity and it lets you decide who do you want to be. You can take the best of both worlds. I'd like to think that, you know, on top of that, I married someone from South America, so our family is multicultural now. I'd like to think that we combine the best of both worlds. Some of the things that I love about Canada that I really value is the way we work so well with diversity. We're, you know, so progressive on thinking about social issues and environmental issues that maybe different parts of the world aren't thinking about in the same way. But you know, there's a lot of the South American culture that's, you know, it's very joyful. It's very in the moment. They don't overthink things in the same way. This is all, of course, in my personal experience. I'm not claiming to be a cultural expert, but I think it is absolutely worthwhile to have the chance to do it, whether it's a culture that's part of your family, your own personal origin already, or something completely different. Go for it.
For me, like working in a different culture, that always open different areas. You know, like one thing how how that same thing is doing in a different country, and there is a huge difference in culture what I find here. And especially when I moved in Canada, it was like actually I would say it was very different than even Europe. Like I worked in Paris, like France, but that was when I compared that culture and here it's a vast difference from both countries. So I would say this, if you anyone get a chance to work on different culture, yeah, obviously you get a chance. And understanding different horizons, like suppose we, for an example, like suppose we build like a office environment. So we work here from like 8 hours. In other countries, like you work in the morning, then you have like 12 to 3 lunch hour, and you go back again. So this every country has a different like a work culture. So it's good to have an experience.
Yeah, it's like if you give me an opportunity, that's great. You don't have to, but something you will explore and learn more, but you will help you to get experience when you learn more different system or different overseas, like only from 3 different continents I work with every. It's engineering, it's the same actually, but just the culture and the work they're working, it's like different from Middle East to Europe to continent. It's something that to try if you have the opportunity, but
I think your guys are getting a great education for this. It's top-notch stuff that you're learning here, and I think it translates well, not just well, but you know, beyond well. If you were to go to other jurisdictions, other countries, you probably have something to teach even once you're done here at the end. So when I graduated from UW, I had all this tool set of things that I could do in water resource engineering and water treatment. And I find myself training or telling people how to design treatment plants or designing garages and things like that overseas that some countries do. And then I could take them to school in other countries where that's all they did. And so I learned a lot as well. So my education here, it ranges about 950 million years here. To go to the Middle East, and you're looking at 50 to 100 million a year. You go to Indonesia, Philippines, you're looking at 3,900, 4,000 million a year. You look at about 2,500 million a year. I'm just saying, always, there's just a geographical difference. As a water supply engineer, how you approach water supply in those types of environments shifts the way you think how you solve problems like that. But because I've been through it once, the rigorous once here in Ontario at Waterloo, I've been able to apply those rainfall principles, and then how they will lead to flood mitigation or drought mitigation, or taking plunge from reservoirs and things like that. How you store it, how you store that, how you prevent flooding from other places. So I've been able to apply those to other countries as well. And unfortunately, the level of engineering that some of those countries I've been to is not as high. And so I found myself teaching stuff I learned at Waterloo to these other countries that don't have it. There might be other a lot of other countries that are in the same boat that help. So there's a little bit of humanitarian thing involved with some companies. Obviously, for Europe, they might be more advanced because we have office food in Canada and so things like that. So we're following them, taking to school and taking all resources. That's really good. But all in all, I think any type of education in Europe, or in Ontario, it's a high quality, high standard thing. If you go through the program and learn stuff, I think it translates very well to people overseas, and I think that you'll find yourself rewarded by your experience with it. But I think these are just our opinions. Just because of course that's so, don't go and look at it. It's not the right way to go about it, but if that's your curiosity, I would explore that.
Yeah, so I think that
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the question. I'd be happy to. As I mentioned earlier, I worked in continuous improvement. I got my lean training in Six Sigma Black Belt when I was working as an employee, first in the automotive industry and later on mining. And I started to realize that really whatever business I was in, I could figure out how to take the process and map it out and figure out ways to do it better. And I had this very transferable skill set that allowed me to bring people's opinions together and their understanding of the process together to save a lot of money and time and resources and energy. And I was saving, part of my job was to write the business cases for the problems I was solving. And in some cases, we were saving $450,000, $500,000 a year just by solving one individual problem and do all the calculations and figure that out. Now, I wasn't getting paid $450,000 to $500,000 a year. And so I started to realize, wow, I'm a really good asset as an employee to these companies. I could probably do this on my own. So that was the first sort of step on my path to entrepreneurship. The second was when I went on my international placement, and I started to realize that I wanted a little more flexibility and a little more ability to direct my contribution in a specific way. So not necessarily to work, for example, for a mining company, but maybe to work for, say, a company that was championing new technologies, or a company that was working on solving some kind of social problem. I realized I wanted to direct my energies in a way that aligned with my values, basically. That was kind of the second step. And I think after that, I took some time off, I traveled, I did a whole bunch of that. I basically spent my seventh package all over 4 continents, because I really wanted, I had this curiosity to see the world. I didn't really get my big backpacking adventure right after university. So I took it then, and I realized I just couldn't go back on the freedom and the, sort of the independence that I had gained during that time. So I took a course about entrepreneurship. I learned about how to understand your customer. I learned how to write a website. I got myself into a mastermind group, best couple $1,000s I've ever spent, as far as having a community of entrepreneurs that are also building their business and understanding what it is that they do. And I got so addicted to building businesses that I actually built 3. Before I realized, okay, that's enough. 3 is lots. So the first one that I started, I called it Erica Lee Consulting. So I do Lean Six Sigma project management for companies that are making a positive difference in the world. So I do work somewhat with manufacturing and mining, because that's kind of where the meat of my skills come from. But then I've also worked with all kinds of other types of professionals, with nonprofits, with creative consultants, music therapists, nonprofit, I said that already, 2 different nonprofits I've worked with so far. So it's that same skill set that just applied on my own platform. And then by the time I realized I sort of knew what I was doing as an entrepreneur, I realized, hey, I kind of learned something here, and I don't think many engineers know that this is an option, to combine your technical skills with your values and some, it takes some risk taking, right? It takes a certain personality for it. But if you want to, you can do it. You can do whatever you want. So I thought I want to give back this message to young engineering students and engineering professionals that have just graduated and are maybe still scratching their heads about how to live a life that feels good to them and leverage their skills. So that's when I started Engineering Your Life. That's something I mentioned. I do coaching, basically mentorship for anyone in your shoes or a little bit or a few years later. In my experience, there's a bit of a land of confusion you enter after graduation. normal, totally fine. But I wanted to provide a little bit of clarity and a little bit of some confidence if you wanted one question back. And that's when I got involved with engineering calculus and started doing the thing, just talking to kids anywhere from kindergarten to grade 12, saying, hey, if you want to be creative, if you want to solve big problems, if you want to contribute to society, you need engineering is the place for you. So those are the three things I do.
Any other questions?
To be honest, the biggest obstacles were in here. Who's going to take me seriously? Can I even do this? Who do I think I am? Trying to be a big shot consultant. I don't know enough. I'm not experienced enough. I found that once I got the nerve to put it out there, I got a designer to do my logo, and I got someone to do my website. I'm like, wow, this actually looks good. Maybe I can fool people into thinking I know what I'm doing. When I got my first couple of clients, which I did very easily because I had good connections through my previous employers, that was when I started to realize, no, I can totally do this. So I wouldn't say there were big obstacles for me personally. I got distracted a little bit starting the other businesses that I talked about. But as far as just straight up, doing the nuts and bolts of setting up the business, the biggest thing was just getting out of my own way and not being afraid to fail, like just try it. And no one bites, try something else. Like it's okay. It doesn't, you can never completely succeed or fail unless you give up on yourself. So that was the biggest thing.
My question is, like, over the span of all these years, how have you seen the field of engineering change? And what do you think are new challenges that new graduates like us like good applications? And how do you think technology is going out in the field?
I'll throw one thought out just from a general perspective. There's something called the Grand Challenge of Engineering that were identified by the National Academy of Engineers. People much smarter, more broadly educated engineers from around the world that came up with the top 12 problems that we need to solve in the next generation. And they're kind of disciplinary, they're really interesting, meaty, complex, and meaningful problems. Check those out because a lot of them are emerging. I think a lot of the easy problems have been solved. Now the ones that remain to solve are more complex. They have a technical component, but they also contain an element of you need to understand systems, you need to understand people, you need to understand business models and economies and how those all sort of fit together. So, the good news is engineers are problem solvers, right? The good news is there are lots of problems to solve. It's a target-rich environment for us.
What's impressive, the number of different techniques like it's just a sample, right? At PW, there's only 7 brands at PW today. Now there's so many other ones. Even civil engineering is not going to environment. I didn't have that as a technical opportunity, and I think that recognizes the need to be more specific on certain disciplines as we go forward into the future. Because these problems arise that require more time, more people to look at them. So ever changing. I think water, we need water to live. So for me, I kind of side myself that I probably need to invest in all that. But certainly things even in water finally have emerged where I mentioned before about just the traffic and the traffic transportation, stages engineering, and structural engineering. I'm finding now that people from electrical engineering, people from controls engineering, people from chemical engineering, and they're starting to now come into the water industry. Things that I would probably have done early on in my career are getting much more specialized because the need is there now. They're ever cross-breeding of fields with other fields. So. Even though and that goes to my first comment at the very beginning, even though you're on one track right now, don't think that you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life because that's what you're doing. I meet a lot of electrical engineers and controls engineers in my line of work in water resources right now. and it's just as lucrative for them, if not more, because they provide that expertise that's required to supply safe water to the public. I think it's ever changing.
Technology is a big thing there, which is advancing a lot earlier from what we were doing a long time ago, like for example, the carbon blasting, or now the development of that is so 3D and all those kinds of things. You can do already a lot of stuff with anybody, not very long time. So this is a very good thing. It's a lot of tools that are there to help these things and this is continuing in part of it. That's very good. I think with the new generation, it's all about technology, which is very good.
It's a continuous process, and especially technology is always so fast. Like I remember when I bought my first computer, it was like this big screen, this wide, and it was like maybe I can say it will be around $2,000 I spent on it at that time. And like now technology is so frequently. And again, with the engineering, especially and civil engineering, so with the transportation, we have a lot of different softwares. So that made easier your life easier, like a day-to-day work becomes easier. You have more, you can have more analysis to solve a problem. You can explore more options. And same thing as you mentioned, like before we used to always be drawing boards, you do sometimes you do manual, but now that days is gone and you can have like all 3D views, you have like clear understanding of what it is. So it's always, especially like students, those really modern who I find that it's a more practical based courses. So you have that opportunity to apply, use those software or use those technology at school as a project level, and then that can be transformed to real work.
There's a company that was in the newspaper just a while ago, and they were taking called Air Miles, the guys from UW graduates, right? And they came to talk to us as well in the presentations. But they're the ones that made the drones, not the drones like that for less than home, but the heavy drones for commercial purposes. And it was amazing that you can actually probably transform industries. Like I did in civil engineering, we all do the volume chain of surveying topography. Right? Well, this guy here, he's a computer engineering guy and mechanical guy. Designs a drone that flies all around with a sensor. So there's no civil involved here. With a sensor, he's going to give the sensor, he's going to give a sense of topography all along, and then create the 3D mapping without the aid of civil engineer involved. I mean, that's how technology is changing or being interdisciplinary. It's about like you could wipe out surveyors, or not wipe out, but drastically need for surveyors where we learn to go out in the field and do the measurements, and what he does is quarter the time, or a fraction of the time, much quicker and more accurate. So those are the type of things that what we do right now. They're just up on virtual golf and it's UW spin off and that's like UW's own company, UW grass, that sort of thing. It could transform it, or potentially transform industries based on the stuff that all creative that goes on.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Is there something you wish you had done as a university in high school?
That's my question.
Well, for me, I think you kind of get idea now that communications is a big thing for the mind. I was always team studying, even though I was on failing. I was pretty antisocial. I would go to the bar once a time. I wish I would have gotten out more, talked to more people. Even people that don't want to listen to me, I should just talk to them. And that's the thing. If those people don't want to talk, find someone else, that's the thing. But getting involved with Engsoc or not even writing, but like just getting things or just doing stuff or volunteering or just be more involved. That's probably not Erica's problem, but for me it is, right? quite introverted, typical engineer probably, but we don't get out too much to see, and it was pretty well dimensional for me. And I'm glad I got 4 terms overseas that allowed me to open my eyes a little bit more. But maybe that's because you allowed maybe that opportunity. But certainly, so you can see that it's a team effort engineering is. No one does it alone. You work with other people to get something done. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you start working or getting into the habit of working on it, I think that goes really far as it goes to another country or another country. That's just me.
My advice would be what is going out and networking is good, but also making focus on your study, and then especially if you try to learn as much as you can from your co-op term, because really this is what is going to help you to as you want to go and where it is you have, like, for example, different talks. Some of them they tried several and they didn't like it. They didn't come back. Some of them they really enjoyed it and they are working full time there. So that's the thing, you have to try different things for that encouragement.
Especially, I like his co-op program. Like, you guys have an opportunity to go in between. You have a choice to do, like, choice of work, what you like, what you are doing. In our case, in my case especially, I don't have any co-op program, so I don't know what I'm going to do after graduating from school. I don't know how the office environment will be or how I will be fit into that environment. So that's what I'm missing in my career, but you are, I think people are lucky so that you have that opportunity. So one thing I would suggest, keep your eyes and ears open, like instead of just focusing on one work, so just try to know what happens in surrounding, especially not only to your academic side, but how they can get the figure of what research are going on. In my days, we don't have that luxury of Google, so whatever you problem or issue you find, just try to go into more detail. That not help you directly, but indirectly it will help you in future.
Yeah, I think Cruz right. I didn't really need to get out more. I was very extracurricularly busy during my undergrad. And the answer that keeps coming to my head is a pretty vague one, but I think I have to give it anyway. I think maybe I wish I had just believed in myself more. I think I thought that being a student, I don't want to say bad student, I did manage to pass stuff, but I wasn't the professor's favorite. In fact, I was kind of a pain in the ass because I was putting my head up going, when are we going to use this? What does this actually mean in the real world? I think I thought that made me a bad engineer. And I think in the end it's made me a better engineer because the skills that you acquire in your academic training are just a piece of what you need to be a whole functioning, really, really contributing professional. And I didn't know that. So I think I wish I had known that, and I think I wish I had listened to my own instinctive side that said, hey, I want to know what this is for. Because that curiosity and that desire to make a difference, I think has really served me well in my career. It's allowed me to move forward and accomplish a lot. So doubting yourself,
Any more questions?
All right, if you don't mind, I just on behalf of the chapter, sorry, I'm coming for you, but for Joanna, I just want to say, thank you for just reminding you to get your license. Which you mentioned graduate last week. Thank you for inviting us, and good job on setting it up. And I guess on to
I didn't do so much.
If anyone wants, I mean, we have these notebooks here. I'll just leave them up. They're just so again, just to remind you if you ever want to get into things, get licensed. And unfortunately, it looks like I ran out of SMB and some of these experience required meetings, but they're all on the website on these things. But so if you want to PEO.ON.ca, you can get a lot more information about how you get licensed and what they would expect, so you don't have the fear of the license thing when you graduate. You can educate yourself. It doesn't take long. It's not a good website. It's kind of hard to make, but and certainly if you have any questions, I have my card here, so you can take in contact with us or look on our chapter website, because we're one of 36 chapters in Ontario. We represent nationwide community club. And if you have any questions on getting licensed and stuff, we can try to help you out. Let's give you the right question.
Right, and they have kind of a good follow canvas. I don't very much.
Or changing mugs.
Just so you can know.
Thank you guys for all coming and just saying the lot of questions.
Thank you.
So, with the Engsoc Event, so thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for everyone for coming. You guys can definitely eat and drink while you eat. And make sure to sign the form if you haven't to get your class to get 5 points. And if you're not in my class, I'm not just signing you over. But I actually signed.
Let's review a couple minutes if the audience wants to. Awesome.
Thanks everyone.